Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I know I'm a little bit earlier than normal, but I have a doctor's appointment this morning. And you know what? I'm always a day late and a dollar short. So this time I'm happy to be early. If this is your first time, welcome. I'm Amanda. And on this channel, we're all about shattering the mental health stigma. So every Friday, I jump on and we have a little talk about mental health. I am not a mental health professional. My advice just comes from my experience with my clients through my coaching, my life experiences. So if you are in need of professional support, please make sure to reach out and get that. There's no shame in asking for help. We all need it sometimes. As always, every single dime of the donations from the super chat or super sticker, yes, super sticker, the super chat and the super sticker options will go toward my mental health outreach. So how's everybody doing this morning? I feel like I'm just, oh my God, it's 8 o'clock and I'm energetic and I've gotten so much done. And I'm just in one of those really, I guess, empowered moods. Friday is a half day for my son at school. So it's always a little bit crazy trying to get everything done that I want to get done in a day. So a part of me is still waking up, but a part of me is just, all right, let's do this, let's go. So I did have, as always, some good news I wanted to share. I think this is really cool. Doctors in Canada can now prescribe natural park passes to patients. Studies show that time in nature can lead to a range of benefits, including less stress, less anxiety, and higher self esteem. So true. I know I experience that when I'm in nature. So it says a trip to the doctor can yield any number of recommendations, including bed rest and medicine. But as of late, Canadian patients can be sent home with a more novel note, a prescription for a national parks pass. There's almost no medical condition that nature doesn't make better. So true. Says Melissa Lim, a family physician and director of the PARX. I love it, Parks, PARX initiative, which partnered with Parks Canada to help distribute the initial batch of 100 passes. While similar programs elsewhere have offered regional or local park visits, Lim says this is the first such initiative with a national annual pass. That is so awesome to me because I think that the big thing that's missing here in this country is that I feel a lot of the times the professionals, the doctors, aren't here to help us heal. They aren't here to teach us how to be the best versions of ourselves, how we can take control of our health, how we can be empowered. They're not here to do that. And it's very sad because there's so many things that we can do for ourselves that can help us move higher on our own personal happiness spectrum, that can help us with our mental health. And coming from someone who spent years and years in addiction, in really crippling clinical depression, symptoms of clinical depression, symptoms of anxiety, to someone who is here now, I know the power of taking control. And I actually do a 5-day challenge, a free 5-day challenge. You can go to www.happinessboost.life. I will link that below if you're watching this later, but it's happinessboost.life, Life. And you could do a free 5-day challenge so you can learn what I did. It's also in the link to all of my videos so you can learn what I did to take control of my mental health. And I will say that that is definitely part of it. It's not the whole thing. I can't stand it when people say, "Oh my gosh, you're having symptoms of depression. You just need to go outside." It's not going to cure depression. It's not going to cure your symptoms of depression. It's not going to be the end all for mental health. But there's so many different pieces that we can put together to create a fuller, more optimal mental health picture in our own lives. I actually call my framework the five, thank you, the five puzzle pieces of happiness, because it's just different puzzle pieces that I put together in order to reach my optimum mental health. Thank you so much, Erin, for your donation to the cause. We have a very big project underway right now that is going to make a huge difference in the mental health world. So thank you so much. There are people from all over this morning. We have India, we have London, we have Colombia, Portugal. Holy cow, I just have the whole world in my stream this morning. It's amazing. Good morning, world. Good morning, everyone. Shane Bear says, Amanda, what are your thoughts on exposure therapy? It's extremely difficult at first, but it has helped me with my PTSD tremendously. It's funny you say that because exposure therapy has been huge for me. in many different ways. And I had just done a video. I actually just released it before I jumped in here, but I just done a video a couple days ago where I reacted to Inside the Fire by Disturbed. And it is an incredibly graphic video. I just want to warn anyone who's about to watch it. It's very, very graphic and depicts suicide. I don't deal well with hanging scenes, with depictions of hanging. And that was something that I really wanted to combat. And while it still affects me and I still very much am bothered by it, I made so much progress because as of a couple of years ago, whenever I would see things like that, whenever I would see any depiction of hanging, it could be an animated cartoon. There was actually a Family Guy scene that got to me. It could be animated, it can be anything, and it would send me into a full-blown panic attack. I mean, I couldn't function for a good solid 20 minutes. And I was seeing a therapist at the time, and she and I were talking about it. And I had said, I really want to watch Handmaid's Tale, but I know that that's a recurring theme in there. So her and I worked together to expose me to these things on my terms and expose me little by little, and it made a huge difference. And let me tell you, that reaction that I just released would have been so much different had I not gone through that, because it was literally full-blown panic attack every time. And I couldn't bring myself down. Like I had to let it run its course. And now it's okay. It can be shocking, it can be jarring, but I'm doing a lot better with it. And I did actually manage to watch all of Handmaid's Tale up into the current season, up into the current episodes. And I found that to be extremely helpful, and I've used it for several other fears as well. I actually, I did this once, so I would like to work more on it. I have a fear of spiders. That's one of my big fears. Very common fear, but I have arachnophobia, and several years ago, a friend and I went out for the day, and we had drinks, and we went out to dinner and stuff, and I just kind of got this crazy wild hair at my butt and said, I've been working on my fear of spiders, as in, okay, I will look at a picture of one, or then maybe I'll look at a video and I ease my way into it. Well, I just kind of felt, I really want to overcome this. So we went to the nearest PetSmart or Petco, I can't remember which, but one of those, and I let a tarantula crawl up my arm. And let me tell you, I still have the picture. And it was empowering and terrifying, but it felt good to be able to come like to overcome that. So I am very much a proponent of exposure therapy, so long as you're doing it in the right way. It's not, okay, this makes me feel uncomfortable, so I'm just going to expose myself to it until I'm numb to it. That's not how it works. It's a matter of easing yourself into it, processing the feelings as they come up. So when I was watching Handmaid's Tale, I would watch part of it and then take time afterward to say, okay, this is why this is coming up. This is how I'm feeling coming up. And then how can I work through those individually? And at the time, I was under the care of a mental health professional that really helped me through that process. Now I know the drill, I know how it's done. So I can kind of do that myself. I can utilize what I learned to apply that to other situations. Great question. How did it work for you, Shane? Like, what did you do? Can you tell me a little bit about what you did for your PTSD with exposure therapy? Coucou Paul, ça va? A hairy land octopus. Octopuses don't scare me though. Snakes don't scare me, stuff like that. I actually have very few fears. But the ones I do have are just, ugh. I remember my friend came from Missouri a few years ago to visit, and she wanted to go out and see nature. She just wanted me to show her what Arizona nature looked like. So there's a very easy trail near here. It's over kind of by the Superstition Mountains, but it's a very easy trail. Kids can do it. Bryson's been doing it since he was very young. It's called Silly Mountain. But at the base of Silly Mountain is a little trail that shows all of the different plant life and stuff in Arizona. So they've planted all kinds of our native plants so that you can see that. If you're ever here, you have to check it out. It's really cool. But that's where I took my friend because I knew she wasn't an avid hiker, so she wasn't going to want to hike Flatiron, which is a 5-hour round trip hike for some people, 4 to 5 hours. I did it in about 4. But I knew she wasn't going to do that. So we did this. And we were out there about a little over an hour. Like we were just wandering around and stuff. and there was a tarantula that was about the size of my hand, and she just went, "Nope." And we went back to my house, pretty much stayed there the entire time after that. Let's see. Warmu says, "I'd rather be face to face with a diamondback rattler than one tarantula." Same. I have no problem with snakes. I don't want to be bitten, obviously, and I certainly am afraid of the potential results of being bitten if they're poisonous. But I don't really have a fear of snakes. Instinctively, I don't have a fear of sharks, anything like that. I'll play with snakes all day. I'll play with lizards all day. I would swim with sharks. I have no problem with that. But just ce petit araignée, non merci. Je déteste les tarentules. I hate tarantulas. Je déteste les araignées. I hate spiders. Anything involving the death of children would set off my PTSD and dissociation. I hadn't been able to even go into her bedroom for years. I started small, but towards the end, I was able to enter. That is really beautiful. I understand. As many of you know, I had a miscarriage, and there's still a lot of things that have been triggering me and affecting me. And I have kind of made a plan to go through exposure therapy for this situation because I right now hate everything that involves the movie Frozen. I can't stand the music. I can't stand seeing the characters. Just everything about it absolutely sets off my grief. And I had had this one dream that ended up becoming a recurring dream until I wrote a letter, or not a letter, but I kind of wrote a story that inverted the dream. So inverted all of the themes of the dream that I kept having. It was just this really awful nightmare. It inverted the dream uh, to make it more positive, and that it slowed the dream. I was having the dream almost every night. It was very frequent, and then I started having it once every week, maybe every 2 weeks. And the thing that stopped my dream was I ended up dreaming that Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad came in and beat the ever living hell out of Olaf. So I mean, I'm making progress, but I understand that there's some kind of subconscious thing that my mind has latched to representing that movie, and I know I need to move through that. So I'm going to be making a vlog about it. I'm going to be making some videos about that to discuss that and discuss my process and what I'm going to do. And exposure therapy is a big part of that. So I'm still in the process as well, but I very much understand that things like that can be very triggering. They're very triggering for me as well. And anything that involves that with me, like death, miscarriage, pregnancy, things like that, can be very triggery for me. So it can really be an underlying trigger for PTSD symptoms. Using a voice recorder during our session to listen to at home helped. I could control when I got into that mindset. Yeah, I always took notes. I would take notes just so that I knew what to do later. I must say, your reaction video en Je suis malade, wow, parfait. Merci beaucoup. C'était très cool pour moi parce que je voulais depuis longtemps de faire une vidéo en français. Donc, je suis fière de moi-même. Très fière. I'm very proud of myself to be able to have made a video in French. Have you hiked Granite Mountain Hot Shot State Park? I want to come hike. It's just the distance from Colorado. I have not. Where is that? It sounds familiar, but I have not hiked that. I love hiking. I actually think my son and I are going to go on a hike this afternoon because it's still nice. And I feel like I just am going to need to decompress a little bit. I've had a lot to do on screens, on the computer, and I just need to decompress. So I think we're going to go on a hike this afternoon before I have to dive back into responsibility later. I have a few people that I need to talk to, so I'm happy to go out and enjoy this before it becomes 120 degrees again in the summer. Have you reacted to Blackbird by Alter Bridge live in Amsterdam yet? I have not, but a lot of people have been suggesting it, so I think I'm going to have to give it a look. Warmo says, oh, what really causes me to split is when MFers say mental health issues aren't real. Some a you know, I had a very well-known guru actually that I had the pleasure of interacting with before he passed away. His name was Swami Kriyananda, and he was a big part of the Ananda Church of Self-Realization. And I'm not religious, but I do consider myself spiritual, and I'm really open to different messages from different religions, just different inspiration from different religions. And I had spoken with him and I had said, "What do you think about mental health and about symptoms of depression and anxiety?" And I've had so many people over my life tell me that it's in my head. And he said, "Why is that relevant? Because if it's in your head, that's the worst place it can be. So if it's in your head and not something external that you can walk away from, that still makes it very relevant to your story and your experience. So just because it isn't a tangible thing you can touch doesn't make it any less of a struggle." And Dumbledore in Harry Potter had said, "Of course it's in your head, but why should that make it less real?" I just don't understand why people try to invalidate our experiences like that. It is pretty silly. But I mean, I think that people that say things like that are insecure themselves and they're struggling and they don't want to come to terms with it. So they tend to project that insecurity on other people by saying, "That's not real. That's not real." Because then they don't have to come to terms with their own struggles and their own reality. Oh, outside of Prescott, Kurt says that Granite Mountain is outside of Prescott. Well, maybe I will have to go check that out. Anyone want to go hike with me? I need a new hike because I want to do. I haven't done Camelback, and I want to do Camelback this year before it gets too hot, which is another fairly long hike here. But yeah, I need to branch out a little bit. Ormus says they wanted me to try to instantly choose violence. Well, yeah, because then that when somebody's trying to provoke you like that, that then takes all of the responsibility off of them. So if they provoke you and they push your buttons and they get you to react, then all of the terrible things they said and did kind of becomes null and void in their head. And they're saying, "Oh, well, I was justified in saying or doing these things." It's ridiculous. Song Blackbird helped me through the darkest times of my life. It's the best song ever. Make sure it's Amsterdam and not Wembley. If you react, please. I will try to remember that. Amsterdam. Mille merci encore une fois. I wish you all the best. I can't stay longer today, but I subscribe since that reacting. Oh, merci. C'est pas grave. J'en fais tous les vendredis. I'm here every Friday now. Unless, my computer decides to go again and I have internet issues. But yeah, I know we have a few less today, but I still want to jump in and hang out. I know a lot of people watch the replays of this, so I still want to jump in, have this conversation, hang out. Like I said, it's a perfect opportunity for us all to chat, to talk about our mental health, to check in, see where we're at, and of course, to raise money for that mental health surprise. I promise you don't have to wait much longer. I promise, promise, promise. You don't have to wait much longer because it's in its final stages. So I'm very excited for that. And that's where all the Patreon funds go. That's where all the funds from the super chat and super stickers here go. Anybody that makes donations, that's where it's going right now, is toward this mental health app because I'm very passionate, or this mental health project, because I'm very passionate about moving things forward with this movement. I'm very passionate about really making an impact and filling in the holes. I mean, I think that therapy can be amazing. I think that there's so much that we can do in our own world that can be amazing. Like I said, with my 5 puzzle pieces of happiness, I think that we are very empowered to make a difference in our mental health. But I think there's a few things missing. And I really believe that this project is going to fill in the holes that are missing. So the lead singer had a bad cold when he performed in Wembley. That's why the Amsterdam concert was better. And I love the channel and reaction videos. Thank you. I remember going to a BB Mac concert when I was 16. I loved it so much. I went with my mom. It was a great experience. They were this British boy band. They were really big back in the 90s. And the one singer, Steve, was sick, and thank you again, Aaron. Donation train, who's gonna jump on the train? Choo choo. Oh, but Steve was sick, and he would keep having to go off stage to throw up. And my mom is just, "Oh my god, poor Steve. I feel so bad. I should make up some tea." And I'm going, "Mom, you can't make tea for these famous people," which ended up being kind of funny because I had the biggest crush on Christian Burns from that band, rivaled only by my crush for Justin Timberlake at the time. And I ended up getting to interview him for the channel because little did I know at the time he actually struggled with his mental health through the time of BB Mac's fame. So it was really cool to get to see that other side and understand that that even people who seem to have everything still struggle. Aaron just started a donation train, so we all have to jump on now. Get it done. Paul says, "What's printed on the shirt?" Mon chéri. My shirt says, "Mon chéri," my darling. And I kind of like it because I can be my own darling. I can be my own sweetheart. I love it. Love it, love it. Uh, Shane says, I had a supervisor worked at a prison who treated me horribly after my daughter's death, even sent me to training 2 weeks after she passed. That's really, including firearm training, that's when I attempted. That is heartless. And I hope that you got away from that situation, that you told that person um, how inappropriate that was. I actually had a therapist, I've had several therapists that took very inappropriate angles toward my treatment, and I called them out on it. There were two. The one that ended up telling me that happiness wasn't possible for someone like me, I called them out on it. And I called another woman out because I was really struggling after Chester Bennington passed away, and I had told her about it, and she told me that it was inappropriate, and I walked out of the session. It was actually our last session together. I walked out of it, and I calmed down and I sent her an email and I just said, "It's not on you to tell me who I should be mourning or telling me that it's inappropriate to mourn certain people. It's on you to make sure that I get through that mourning and that grief in a healthy, positive way. So I can't turn that off. I can't just say, oh, really? That's inappropriate? Okay, let me turn that off now. That's not how that works." So it was really important for me to tell her, you know what, like, this guy impacted a lot of people and he was from here. So I can't imagine that I'm the only person that's ever going to come into your office with this kind of feeling. And I just want to let you know that I felt that that was really inappropriate and that I had come to you because I trusted that you would help me find a way to get through my grief in a healthy manner. Because at one point in my grief process, I was heavily on drugs, I was drinking a lot, I would self-harm. I did pretty much anything to get through that, and all I'm looking for is someone to help so that it doesn't spiral into that, you know? So how inappropriate for someone to overlook your grief and your feelings and your needs and your pain and put you in that position. I'm really sorry for that, and I hope that they learn their lesson, whether you told them or whether they found out some other way. I really hope that they figured that out because that's wildly, wildly inappropriate. And I'm glad that you are still here. I'm very glad that you're still here and that you made it through that. I know that that couldn't have been easy. I'm thinking about adding a bit of mental health aspect with my channel for the upcoming Destiny 2 expansion. You know what? I think anything we can do to tie in, um, tie this into the conversation. I'm thinking of expanding the channel and adding another kind of series of videos. So we have the reactions, we have the vlogs, we have the celebrity interviews, influencer interviews. I do some self-help videos here and there, and I have one more thing that I am wanting to add, and I've been in collaboration with some people on it. So I'm probably going to be digging into it by the end of spring. That's my hope, end of spring. But I think it's going to be really awesome. You know, you guys can't make Aaron here alone on his train. He can't just be the poor little engine that could. I'm just kidding. You are the most amazing Thomas the Train. I'm weird, but when I had Bryson, I thought it was cool because it gave me an excuse to watch kids movies and kids shows because some of them are super obnoxious, but some of them are kind of cute. And I didn't feel as weird going to see Inside Out or movies like that with him. I would have definitely felt weird going by myself, but I didn't feel weird. So let's see. Thomas. You are definitely Thomas. You are Thomas Forrester, though, not Thomas the Train. Have 9 great songs for Amanda to do reactions on. There's so many songs, Mark. I can't just be your slave. Please don't chain me up. I don't want to be like Jesse that's just chained up doing reactions all day and stuff. I mean, I guess I'd rather be chained up doing reactions all day than chained up cooking meth. Aw, Amanda, you're really inspiring. Love you. Love you too. Thank you. Hope you're having a great day so far. I am having a fabulous day, actually, despite getting up really early. I've been kind of struggling off and on with weird insomnia symptoms, which is strange because I got to a point where my sleep was really under control and then just out of nowhere things kind of kicked in. And I've been exploring that and figuring out what to do to combat that, like why that suddenly kicked up. David Gaps, you're wearing red. Okay, now you sound like my son. Bryson Bryson caught on to the fact of the color scheme in The Handmaid's Tale because he'd asked me to do something one day. He'd asked me to get a glass of water. That's what it was. He was having dinner, and I just made this whole dinner. And he goes, "Can you get me some water?" And I just rolled my eyes and went, "Do I look like I'm wearing red?" Not realizing that he obviously would understand the context of it, which in retrospect it would be the Marthas that would get the water, not the handmaids. But I digress. Uh, so now whenever I ask him to do something, he'll just look down and go, "I'm not wearing red." Or he'll go, "Well, I'm wearing blue, so you have to listen to me," because the wives wear blue and they kind of have the higher authority. Northern Sportsman says, "How much to tip for a blackbird reaction?" Reaction tips are, you know what? I'll let you decide this morning. I'll let you decide. Nice t-shirt, Vivek says. Usually reactions are 25 or more. And then I will put that on the top of the list. It would be added to the top of the list. I have a couple other reactions from Patreons that I still have to do, but it will be done within the next couple weeks, I promise. I have a weird sleep schedule as well lately where I tend to wake up halfway through the night and then back to sleep later. Yes, for some reason, that's pretty much been what I've been doing is I will go to sleep and I'll sleep fine, and then I'll sleep for a few hours and wake up and can't go to sleep again. Or I wake up, stay awake for a few hours, and then go back to sleep. Kurt says, "React to Wrong Side of Heaven by Five Finger Death Punch." I actually already did. I actually already did react to Wrong Side of Heaven. Could someone throw the link in there for him so he can check that out? Because that's one of my favorite reactions that I did. It was very special to me, very meaningful to me. So somebody please throw that in there for him. Hi, Manta. Hi, all. Just have seen your reaction to Disturb. Came here to give you a big hug. Stay strong. Thank you. That, I'm not going to lie, that was the hardest reaction I've had to do for the channel so far. It really challenged my progress and challenged me as far as my trigger and one of my traumas, one of the things I really struggle with. So it was very challenging, but I welcome challenges these days. And had it been too difficult, obviously, I know that I could have paused and I could have reached out, and I have this community to stand by me. I know that. So that's very comforting. I have a great support system in my life. And I know now, for the most part, what I need to do when things do become too heavy. But I'm not going to lie, that was the hardest reaction I've had to do for the channel. It's just, it had a very heavy theme. The ending, I didn't say this in the video, but I think the ending is kind of open for interpretation because you can assume that he lost his life in the end of it, or you can assume that he ended up getting help and he's in a psych ward in a white room, in a padded room. So I feel like there are several different ways to interpret that, but it was very difficult for me to get through. As a matter of fact, usually when I watch or when I record a video, I'll go back and I'll watch it to make sure that there's no audio problems, nothing like that. And I could not watch all that video again. I might listen to the song, but I don't think I'll ever watch that video again. But when I did go back to rewatch it, I had to put my hand over the screen like this and just watch my reaction. I took my headset off and just did this and watched my reaction and listened to a few parts of the audio in the beginning where I was doing my introduction, and then towards the end after he took her down and everything, because I couldn't expose myself to all those visuals again until I processed it fully after having seen it. How much to react right now? I actually don't have it set up on YouTube to react right now, but, I could probably do it, next week. I could probably get it in next week. So if you did make a donation for the project now here using the super chat feature, I could get to the reaction, probably earlier next week. Eugene says, "Oh God, y'all are giving me flashbacks to my DJing days." I do, just FYI, Northern Sportsman, I do live reactions for my Patreons. So there are reactions that I do specifically for my Patreons exclusively over there that I don't post here on the channel. And I do those live, just FYI. So you guys are missing out. Daniel says, "Hello from Kenora, Northwestern Ontario, Canada. It's so great you are trying to get the message out there for the mental health community. I suffer from extreme anxiety and depression with ADHD." I really genuinely believe that I probably could have got an ADHD diagnosis, but I struggled with symptoms of anxiety and depression as well. And I know that that can be a challenge. I think one of the things that really changed the game for me early on in my healing process and my healing journey was number one, I stopped saying I have depression and anxiety, and I started saying I'm having symptoms of depression and anxiety because then I stopped owning it. But to utilize my anxiety for something positive. So to me, anxiety now is energy. Like I'm having these energy bursts. What can I do with them? How can I positively channel them? What can I do to really be in my optimal mental health and give myself the best possible chance to reduce symptoms of depression? But I'm really glad that this community is helpful to you and that you're finding the content helpful. I was just talking about Canada earlier because apparently doctors in Canada can now prescribe national park passes for their patients, and I think that's really cool. So it seems like you guys are moving kind of in the right direction. That there's been some positive changes up there, so that is good news. But welcome, and if you ever need to talk to someone, I'm here. I'm here live on Fridays, or you can email me. My email address is in the description of my videos. And of course, I always read all of my comments. You're so strong and you can go through anything and inspire us as well. Thank you. Eugene says, "Every time I turn around, folks would go throw money in my tip jar to get me to play a song I just played an hour before." uh, Hey, Dar says, "Can I ask a fashion question away from mental?" Sure, why not? Actually, I kind of think that fashion ties into mental health, so maybe I am the odd duck there, but I think it does play I think it does play into it, and I was actually going to make a video about that here soon too on one of my vlogs. Northern says, "Metal, you want to go half on the 25? You know what? If you guys split it, I will count that. You guys can split it. You guys can each make a donation, and I will still do the reaction. I will still do the reaction next week. I'll count that." Richard Glenn says, "I struggled with depression myself, and let me tell you, the band Blue October and their music has helped me so much with managing mine." It's incredible what music can do. I mean, I wouldn't be here had I not had that connection that I had with Linkin Park and with Chester, had I not developed that connection over the years and really allowed that to flourish. Had when that song came on when I was in that Canadian hotel room, it wouldn't have done anything, and had that song not came on, I wouldn't be here. So I really think there's more power in music than people let on, or than the mainstream lets on, because they tend to demonize certain types of music, like, oh, that's devil music, or oh, that's Satan worship music, that's evil, or that's negative, or that's gonna make people depressed. Because if someone hasn't been here and they haven't experienced, they don't understand that we need validation, and we need to understand that we're not alone. And hearing someone else talk about our struggles is so cathartic. Joel Davidson says, "How do you feel about doing reactions to country music, and what's the best way to discuss that with you?" Well, I grew up in Missouri, so y'all can send me all the country music you want. I still have a soft spot for old school country, particularly, but I will do country reactions. I have no problem doing country reactions. The best way is to check out my Patreon. Link is going to be below this video because my patrons do get priority song requests, or you can make a donation here in the chat and I will add that to my list. So donation $25 or more, I will do a reaction to a specific song and prioritize that below my Patreons, but above all of the other general ones. Eugene says doctors can prescribe what? I didn't catch that. They can prescribe passes to national parks in Canada now. Sharing love from Spain. I really think I'm just about to get every country this morning. I love it. Eugene says, I can't listen to Linkin Park anymore. It's too traumatic for me. Let me tell you how difficult it was for me to get back into it after losing Chester. After Chester passed away, there were months and months that I couldn't listen to Linkin Park. And it was so weird for me because they were such an intrinsic part of my day to day life. It was just so interwoven into my life that I felt like I lost part of myself, not being able to listen to the music and engage in lyrics mentally. It was very difficult for me. And it took me a long time, like months and months and months, before I could really listen to them again. And it's interesting because I kept going, I don't know how to cope with this loss. And finally, I had someone close to me sit me down and say, ironically, I think he told you exactly how to do it and turned on Leave Out All the Rest. And I laid on the floor and cried to the song at this point, partially because it was so poetic, given what had happened, and partially because that song is what got me through my mom's passing. So that kind of turned around for me, was really letting that settle in, really letting that sink in. That was very powerful for me. P. Jameson 19 says, I met Linkin Park before they became big. One of my friends' cousin to Mike. They were really nice guys. I'm so jealous of you. I met Mike. I don't know. I don't think you guys can see. I'll post the picture over in the community. Actually, I met Mike, and that was actually the first day that I went into sobriety or recovery, not sobriety, recovery for self-harm and cocaine. I met him at Amoeba in Los Angeles when he did his release party for post-traumatic, and he ended up doing, I don't know if you guys can see it because it's in white, but he ended up drawing a puzzle piece with his initials on my wrist, and I literally walked out of the concert, had it tattooed, and said, I'm never doing this again. I'm done. And I felt this shift in myself and said, I can never do this again. Pete Jameson, can you email me, please? My email address is in the description of the videos, but I would really like to talk to you about that experience and stuff. So if you could shoot me an email, I would super, super appreciate that. I introduced Linkin Park to my daughter because they are one of my favorite bands. They are one of hers now too. But after her suicide attempts at my history of mental health, losing Chester broke our hearts. We were actually supposed to go to a Linkin Park concert. So we had tickets and meet and greets for Simple Plan. And then I was planning on getting the tickets and meet and greets for Linkin Park. But a friend of mine, his dad was terminal, the veteran actually. His dad was terminal and his dad was in another state, and he was very distressed because he wanted to be able to say goodbye to his dad. So I spent that money flying him back to be able to say goodbye to his dad and see his dad. So I hadn't got the tickets. I was waiting for my next paycheck. So I was waiting. I had to wait another, I think, 2 or 3 days before I could buy the tickets and meet and greet passes. And unfortunately, Chester passed away. So I didn't have my tickets, but we did plan on going. And I'll never forget having to sit Bryson down because I'd already told him that we're planning on going, and having to sit him down and say, the concert's not going to happen. Linkin Park concert's not going to happen. And he didn't understand. He said, why? Is somebody sick? Can we make them soup? Because he was only 6 at the time, I believe. So he goes, can we make them soup? I want them to feel better. I want them to be able to do the concert. And I had to explain to him that Chester had passed away. And that was his first experience. That was my first time introducing him to the concept of suicide, and I had to obviously tame it down for a 6-year-old and explaining that depression is a disease, and unfortunately, sometimes this is a symptom of that disease, and I had to explain that to him, to a 6-year-old who just curled up with his little Lightning McQueen blanket and sobbed his eyes out, and it was very real for him. It was very difficult for him. It was a very difficult, loss for us, and we still listen to Linkin Park now. His favorite song is Castle of Glass, so he really likes listening to them now, but it took him some time to be able to get through that. Our song is "Miss You" by Blink-182, though, which is kind of ironic because Blink and Linkin Park was supposed to go on tour with each other. It's supposed to be Blinkin Park was supposed to be the tour for the One More Light album. Alrighty, so I have about 10 more minutes. So Northern Sportsman, Metal Mark, sorry, Metal Mark. You guys better get your request in. If you want me to do that country song, make sure to get your request in before the end of this so that I can add that to the list to make sure that I do that next week. Thanks for doing Inside the Fire from Disturbed. You are very welcome. It was difficult, but I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to do that. One of my close friends said she can't without wanting to cry. I told her Chester would want her to use that pain as fuel. Chester would. I would agree. I'm actually going camping here in a few weeks with Chester's son Jamie, so that's gonna be really fun. But yes, Chester would want you to use that fuel as pain, and it's okay to cry because if we don't cry and we hold that back, all we're doing is allowing that to expand and expand and expand and never really moving past that. Rejection, depression, loss of entire family, survivor's guilt, insomnia, always could find refuge in Metallica Fade to Black. That's how I found you. And anathema in anyone, anywhere, keep it up. Angelic Storm, Facing the Giants, Death Crawl. All right. We have a donation here for action. I'm gonna make a note of that so I don't forget because I am very forgetful, my loves, very forgetful. And that was for Angelic Storm. If you want me to use a different name when I do that, please let me know. But I will make a note to do that. Thank you very much for the support in the project, for the support in the channel. I really do love and appreciate you guys. I know I say that at the end of my videos and it can kind of seem empty after a while. I'm sure to the viewers who see it all the time, because I know when I watch videos of people that I really like, their little intros and outros can start to feel a little bit scripted. And I just want to say that's not the case at all. When I say I love you guys, I genuinely mean it. I'm so appreciative and so just taken aback by the love and the community that we're here, that I'm getting to see this dream that I had of creating this community where we can come together and we can just open up and talk. I'm seeing that become a reality and it means a lot. So seriously, thank you. Thank you for being such an openly emotional person. Simply seeing your expression change when you see something disturbing in your videos actually really helps me to feel and understand them better. I know some people are very judgmental about that, and they'll say that you're faking or you're doing this for views, you're doing this for money. And that's my personal favorite because I don't make money off my reactions. They're all copyrighted. Most of them are copyrighted. I think maybe 1% of my reactions I can actually uh, monetize. But no, for me, it's just, I'm not going to hide anything. If I find something upsetting, I think it is important that we're just open about that. Because why shouldn't we be? Why can't we just say, you know what? This is disturbing and it should be. It really should be. And hiding that is only kind of numbing society to it. It's only making it to where we can expose ourselves to anything and just have absolutely no reaction. I never want to be that person. I want to be upset when I'm upset and scared when I'm scared. And I think that that is healthier than anything. I think that that is emotional regulation, and that's a big thing that I had to learn through my BPD diagnosis was emotional regulation. And I think emotional regulation isn't learning to not have emotions; it's learning how to express them at the right times and appropriately, like at an appropriate level. So you're not just freaking out all the time. Yeah. Uh Heffa the animal says, unfortunately, I couldn't watch the Inside the Fire um, video. It's too close to my own experiences. I completely understand. Nirvana was my cousin's favorite band. I think I'm gonna have to dive down the Nirvana rabbit hole because I haven't listened to a lot. Okay, so we have Joel Davidson put in for Five Finger Death Punch, The Tragic Truth. I am happy to go back down the Five Finger Death Punch um, rabbit hole. Oh, I love this. Thank you guys. Thank you. I'm excited. And I get new songs to react to. So check out the show SEAL Team. Thank you. You're not faking it. You can't fake those emotions. Thank you. I got so many comments on Fade to Black where people are saying, "Oh, you're not even actually crying." First and foremost, there doesn't have to be physical tears to cry. I don't know if there were or not, but the lyrics had just triggered grief that I hadn't confronted about the miscarriage, and that's what it was really about, was being kicked back into that. People are saying, "Oh, this song was written because their equipment got stolen." So I don't know why you're crying, because it was a personal experience for me. Because when we listen to a song, music is art, and art affects people in different ways. You're not always going to see the art as the artist imagined it or meant it to be portrayed. I got a lot of claps. Hello, lots of claps. SEAL Team is a great show that deals with mental health among soldiers. Awesome. I'll have to check that out. Far Away by Avenged Sevenfold. I'm glad that I got back into Avenged Sevenfold because it was my ex's band. He even has an Avenged Sevenfold tattoo. Bryson's dad has an Avenged Sevenfold tattoo, so I avoided them for a long time. But now I'm kind of happy to have gotten back into them. Yes, please quit spamming. I just want to make sure that I see as many comments as possible. I appreciate the claps. I appreciate the love, but please make sure not to spam the chat, because that means that people can get lost. Like, the comments can get lost, and all the comments here are important. So I try to read as many as possible. So I appreciate your love, but please stop spamming the same emojis. If you do that, I do have to mask you from the channel temporarily. Okay, let's see. David I can never say his last name. Boreanaz? Performance is amazing. I cannot say his last name for anything. When I tell me if I'm alone in this. So when I read certain actors or certain characters or things like that, I kind of pronounce in my head like what I'm seeing, even though I know it's not right. Like the director, producer, writer, whatever, M. Night, blah blah blah. In my head, it's just like M. Night Shabla Goblin Toes. I can't say his last name. I don't even try to. David Boreanaz, I think, is something close to that. David, that guy from Buffy, which is also a show I never really watched, but my friend was really into it. So Boreanaz. Okay, Boreanaz. Okay, I was close, I think. It's not M. Night Shovel Goblin Toes. We just call him Angels to avoid butchering his last name. I remember reading the book Aragon, and I loved that book. I read it in my early 20s, loved the book. I didn't completely finish the series, but I believe I read the first 3. And I totally just kind of made up the names in my head because there were a couple names that I couldn't pronounce. It was just like in my head. Meadow Mark says, what song that you've reacted to has been your favorite? Oh, that's hard. I really surprisingly liked Nightmare by Avenged Sevenfold. I really liked Coming Down, or not Coming Down, Wrong Side of Heaven by Five Finger Death Punch. I really liked the one that I did for Brian, the Maybe It's Time. I've listened to that a couple times since then, and I added it to my Raise the Vibes playlist because I found that it was very empowering. I just done that one a couple days ago. If you guys haven't checked that out, it would mean a lot to me if you did so. It's 6 a.m. Maybe It's Time, because one of my Patreons tragically lost his life to an overdose last week, and it was very heavy for the community. We are very tight knit in our Patreon community, so it was very, very difficult, very, very heavy. And I did that in his honor, so it would mean a lot to me if you watch that. I really liked that song though. Um, yeah, those would fall in my top off the top of my head. But there's been a lot of new music that I've been introduced to that's just been, holy crap, I'm definitely going to listen to this later or dive into more. Yeah. Get It All the Time with actress, I don't even know. I'm not even gonna try. With that actress, I know her. Brian will never disappear. I agree. Brian will never disappear. Well, I have to wrap up. So, last chance to get in any requests, any donations for the secret project. I'm so appreciative of you guys. I'm excited to dive into deeper, deeper bands. I mean, dive deeper into. Let's see. Could dive deeper into the Five Finger Death Punch rabbit hole, and I get to experience Facing the Giants, Death Crawl. That is interesting. All right. That's cool. I love these new things. Really love these new things. Gone Too Soon by Daughtry. Face Your Demons. Okay. I was told by my best friend that there's a Daughtry song I'm forbidden to react to, and I'm gonna have to see which one that is because she told me that I would absolutely lose it. It is directly about miscarriage, and if that's the one, I'm not sure, like, maybe that can be part of my exposure therapy and part of my healing process, my trauma healing process, but my best friend explicitly forbid me to to listen to these certain songs. Linkin Park, One More Light, and Five Finger Death Punch coming down. Five Finger Death Punch is definitely on the horizon. Linkin Park, One More Light is my go-to grief song, and I will be doing something special for that song eventually on the channel. When will your secret be revealed? Probably by the end of spring. Okay. I have a doctor's appointment to get to, and I normally am pretty ambivalent about doctor's appointments, especially, you guys know how my last one went, as I was talking about it on my day in the life of vlog. I got to share a little bit of that with you, and this plays into the same theme, but it's not going to be as traumatic, and I think maybe I might get some answers as to what is going on in my body and why I'm having some issues, so I'm happy. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to go pursue these answers, so okay, one last request. Bloodywood, Jay Very. I think I did that one, but I will double check. I'm almost positive that's the one that I did. I loved that song, and I've got to communicate with the band a bit, so that was really awesome. Thank you, Pete Jameson. I will check for your email later this afternoon once I get back. But yes, I'm grateful that I get to go get answers, and move forward and heal. That's very important to me is just continuing to grow and to heal. So I know I was earlier than normal, guys. I know that I was a little bit earlier than typical. Because usually I come on here around 10 or 11, but I thought it was better to come on earlier than not at all. So thank you guys for hanging out with me this morning. Thank you so much for the pledges and the donations for this project, for the reactions. I will make sure to get to those. And I just want you guys to make today an adventure. What can you do today to connect to that adventure mindset? You are Link, you are Zelda, you are sometimes Ganon. I know. There's always two sides to every story, right? But all of our lives can be an adventure. So really think, how can you connect to that adventure mindset? I'm very excited to check out these new songs. I'm very excited to hear your feedback. I'm very excited to make some other content that I have in the works. I'm actually going to be doing a kind of fun little skit this week. So I'm very excited for all of the things in the stars right now, all of the plans, all of the energy. I love it, love it, love it. So thank you very, very much. I love you guys so much as always, and I'll see you soon. Mwah.